Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the regular business meeting, a public hearing of the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation of September 22nd, 2025. This meeting will open at 6:05 p.m. If we could all please rise as Mr. Vassar leads us in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to the Board of School Trustees Resolution of Commendation Awards 2.01, Crown Point Police Department Officer Sergeant Stanko Gliglich, who served for 6 years as a DARE officer, and retired Crown Point Police Department Officer Sergeant Dave Benson, who served for 12 years as a DARE officer, for their exemplary contribution providing valuable instruction to thousands of Crown Point students, and for their professionalism and commitment to the DARE program. May I have a motion? So moved by Mr. Angel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vassar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Nays, and the vote carries 5-0. Officers, if you could come forward as we present your accommodation award. Thank you.
The board would like to issue resolution of commendation. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend Sergeant Dave Benson and Sergeant Stanko Gliglich for exemplary contribution. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere appreciation to Sergeant Benson and Gliglich, who served as DARE officers. Sergeant Benson was for 12 years and Gliglich for 6 years, providing valuable instruction to thousands of Crown Point students, and for their professionalism and commitment to the DARE program. The Board of School Trustees publicly recognizes this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity dated this 22nd day of September 2025. Congratulations. Thank you. I would like to say a couple. Truly an honor to present the commendation to you guys. My daughter was a 5th grader at Lake Street last spring, Juliana Warney. And I think that there's a lot of energy that comes home from your elementary school child. Sometimes it's recess or basketball, but I was very surprised at the contribution that DARE made to her life. And when I sit there from my family's perspective in the bleachers that day, and we were hearing about DARE, and DARE to some of us adults. I mean, it's 30 years ago. You don't really maybe have the connection unless your child's going through it to understand what the program is doing for your child. And as I sat there that evening, the thoughts that ran through my head about the help to them, but then all the kids. And you had some pretty catchy things you were doing with the students. You Sergeant Stanko, he would say one thing and they'd scream back. And you remember whatever you'd say something else and they'd scream back, and they were on it, which really, I think we have to give you a tremendous amount of credit for your personal ability to connect, and Sergeant Benson also. But then the program was teaching, and I couldn't help but think, school board members and administrators and the opportunity for. I think actually the next meeting I came in and talked about the program, but then we always say if you connected with one kid, if you saved one life or helped one kid and one family with what you did, it's invaluable. And I feel like as a parent sitting in there that not only did you connect with one kid, but you connected with a whole bunch of kids. And I want to thank you as a parent and a board member for your service. And it really means a lot. And I remember coming back after and say, hey, whatever, as long as we're board members at the next board, is whatever we need to do to hopefully continue this tradition of the DARE program in the schools, we really need to do it because it makes a difference. So thank you. If you guys would like to say anything.
Well, thanks, everybody. I was just telling Dave on the way here, sometimes the police world can be a thankless job, you know? But the 6 years that I was blessed to be the DARE instructor here at Crown Point, which Crown Point is, I can say this because I'm on the training team downstate, we're one of the highly recognized programs in the entire state. So it's been a continuous since 1990, which is awesome. So hopefully that continues. But in this job, those 6 years, I can honestly say that they were 6 of the most fulfilling, and it was very difficult to not, or to let go, I should say. So, thank you for that opportunity. I've had, I know I've had, yeah, 3. So, it's wonderful, and the relationship with the teachers, we become like buddies. It's just a wonderful program, a life skills program now that I hope that we'll always continue to have. So, thanks for that opportunity. Thank you for this award. This is very humbling. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, again, thank you for this honor. What an honor to receive this from the board and everybody here today. Thank you so much. But, 12 years I did there, made those connections, and just knowing that you're a positive element in the life skills learning of these students was just, it's just remarkable. And when we reflect about the connections that we made when we know, and with my longevity, seeing these kids that are now adults, and I still have contact with a lot of them, and they would tell me, well, I remember this, and this happened, and I remember this, and this kicked in. So it's not magic, but it did come back to them, and it worked. So it's just, not all, recess and happy prize, I miss those too, but I'd do it all over again. It was such an honor. I'd do it again. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of a longtime board member, thank you to both, and Mr. Benson and all 4 of mine, Officer Benson, sorry. And yet my youngest Molly is like got the best memories of her life doing things with Officer Benson. So on behalf of myself as a parent and a board member, thank you both, gentlemen. And God bless you moving forward.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, officer.
Thank you so much.
I will glad to make a comeback. We got one more. Lucy's only in
Oh,
third
the
grade.
new guy's great. The new guy's great. The new guy's great. The new guy's great.
Oh,
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item 3, public hearing. The recommendation is that we have a motion to suspend the regular business meeting and open the public hearing. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Basin,
Second?
and second by Mr. Angel. Are there any questions or comments? Not, ask a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And nays? The vote carries 5-0. We'll move on to item 3.02, the 2026 budget. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Tonight is the first public step for you to take in regards to adopting a 2026 budget, which includes levies and tax rates for the next calendar year. The budget was appropriately placed on Gateway last 2 Fridays ago, 10 days prior to this public hearing. The next important date for you to remember after the hearing tonight is the adoption on October 27th, the planned adoption at our next regularly scheduled board meeting. A few highlights about this budget that was advertised. The actual budget is down almost $2 million compared to the 2025 budget. On top of that, our levy is also reduced. While the current ad shows it being down almost $400,000, we're anticipating the final number, once approved by DLGF, to be down almost $800,000 as compared to last year, or our current year, 2025. And last but not least are the tax rates. The current tax rate is $1.22. We're advertising a rate of not really advertise a rate, but the rate we're end up with is going to be $1.14. What we expect when DLGF finally approves that is a rate of $1.13. Some important notes about that. That would be almost a 9-cent reduction compared to the current property tax rate for this year. And coupled with last year's 6-cent decline, we're talking about a 15-cent decline in our property tax rate for the schools, even given all the projects that we have just completed and that debt fully coming on board. That is almost a 1% reduction in our overall, or 10% reduction in our overall tax rate, which is pretty amazing. A couple comments, as you probably read in the newspaper, as other municipalities, school districts have gone through this process and holding their public hearings. Senate Enrolled Act 1, which was passed by the legislature this last session, is going to have some impact on us in coming years. We are monitoring that impact as we move forward, and we'll make sure we make adjustments and changes as necessary to comply and live within the revenue that the legislature has given us that more than likely will be significantly reduced.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. And I just want to clarify because it came across as 1% and then 10% very quickly. Could you restate that again,
Yeah,
just so we have a clear record?
Thanks, I apologize. So our current tax rate at going back to the $1.22 was $1.28 2 years ago. Our expected tax rate is going to be close to $1.13. That's a 15-cent reduction off the $1.28, which is a little more than 10% on that tax rate.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Reese.
Mr. President.
Are there any questions for Mr. Reese? Okay. Excuse me. We'll move on to item 3.03. Patrons registered to comment on the public hearing tonight, and there are no patrons signed and ready to give comment tonight. So we'll move on to item 3.04. May I have motion to close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting?
So, second.
All right. So moved by Ms. Basin, second by Mr. Vassar. Are there any questions or comments? If not, if we can move to a vote, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Nay. And the votes, the ayes carries 5-0. And we'll show the public hearing closed and resumption of the regular meeting. Item 4.01, patrons registered to comment on educational issues tonight. Again, there are no patrons registered to comment. So we'll move on to item 5.01, the consent agenda. Dr. Terrell.
Thank you. For your consideration this evening, we have 5.01, the regular business meeting minutes from August 25th meeting, 5.02, our personnel agenda, 5.03, the recommendation for employment of candidates pursuant of Indiana Code 20-26-5-11.2. And then 5.04, our voucher registered checks as listed.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell. You've heard the recommendation for approval of the consent agenda, including item 5.01, August 25th, 2025 regular business meeting minutes. Item 5.02, the personal agenda. Item 5.03, recommendation for employment of candidates pursuant to Indiana Code 2026-5-11.2. And item 5.04, voucher registered checks numbers 177-769 to 178-090, and vouchers number 306-512 to 307-298. May I have a motion? So moved by Ms. Basin and seconded by Mr. Angel. Are there any questions or comments? There being no questions or comments, we'll move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Nays?
Nay.
And the vote carries 4-1. The ayes carried 4-1. Item 6, action item 6.01, approval to accept and receive the School Safety Grant 2026. Mr. Gianfranco.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. Annually, the Indiana Department of Homeland Security offers an opportunity to apply for a secured school safety grant, and Crown Point School Corporation has been participating in this grant opportunity for about the last 10 years. This year, we applied for and received $80,097.52 to apply towards salaries and benefits for our school resource officers. This is a matching grant, which we would utilize the funds associated with our school officer program to match those funds. It's the administration's recommendation to approve and accept the grant funding from the Indiana Homeland Security Grant.
Board members, you heard the recommendation from the administration for approval to accept grant funding from the Indiana Department of Homeland Security for the year 2026, for the amount of $80,097.52. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Vassar. Second by Ms. Bazin. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Gianfermi, I'm just wondering, this would be the third meeting in a row. Our Director of Grants no longer presents these things to the board?
She's not in attendance at the board meetings, so, at occasions she may. This one in particular, though, Mr. Colson and I, always write and submit this grant. So
Okay, I know
it's
in
been
the past,
transferred.
it's been Mr. Hardman has presented all
Yes.
these, so I just wonder what the change was.
Any other questions or comments? There being no other questions or comments, we'll move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay? And the vote carries, the ayes carry 5-0. 6.02, out-of-country field trip to Germany. Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I'm here tonight to request the board's support of an out-of-country field trip to Germany by Crown Point High School students in the summer of 2027. And we have the honor of having Mr. LeBlanc, who is one of the trip sponsors, with us tonight. He took students to Japan this past summer, and as my computer is frozen and I cannot scroll down, I'm going to kind of babble on for just a second and give it a second to recalibrate. It is the administration's recommendation that the school board approve the out-of-country field trip to Germany, Italy by Crown Point High School students, June 22nd through the 30th of 2027.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez. Board, you've heard the recommendation of the administration that the school board approve the out-of-country field trip to Germany by Crown Point High School students from June 22nd through June 30th of 2027. May I have a motion?
So,
So moved by Ms. Bazin.
second.
Seconded by Mr. Angel. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. LeBlanc, thanks for doing all those things that you do. What do you consider to be the best part of, you went to Japan this past summer? Yes. What was the best part of that for the students?
Mr. LeBlanc, can I have you come up to the microphone so the people?
Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard there, but I was just curious.
The students very much got to enjoy seeing how robotics really is part of their entire life over there, especially how robotics are helping with elder care. So Japan has a very aging population, and so robotics are starting to be like things that are very almost science fiction. Small humanoid style robots are starting to be in the homes there. And so they were able to go to advanced centers and see how those robots were designed and see how they interact. And so they really enjoyed that part. I think that was a highlight of the trip. And then also just the culture. So we did a lot of cultural stops and things like that also.
Well, thank you. Thanks for taking that on.
Oh, thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Let me see if there's any other questions. And board members, any other questions? There being no further questions, we'll move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Nays? And the vote carries 5-0. Thank you again, Mr. LeBlanc.
Thank you.
Item 6.03, policy revisions and additions. Mr. Kiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. Tonight, we bring to you Policy 7510, which is the use of school facilities. We are in the process of converting this particular policy to ISBA policy, but right now we're going to make an adjustment in this version from Neola to add a statement in there about approval from the superintendent or his designee. It's in the Class 2 section there. So this will serve well, and ISBA does approve this current version of it with this addition until we can bring you down the road the updated version in ISBA language. So this evening, with this minor adjustment, we are asking the board to waive the reading of the policy and approve it with the updated language.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. For the board members, you heard a recommendation of the administration to waive the reading of policy number 7510, use of school facilities, and approve this policy with the updated language included. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve and waive the reading.
Motion moved by Mr. Warning and seconded by Ms. Bazin. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Kiwa, so what are the big, it may not be big, but what are the changes we're improving? Because usually you highlight those. And
I'm surprised it's not in a different color here, Mr. Vassar, under Class 2, Paragraph 3. There's a sentence with a percentage listed in a phrase for approval being received by the superintendent or his designee is added in
Oh,
there.
okay. Well, thank you.
Everything else is exactly the same.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? With there being no further questions or comments, we'll move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Nays? And the vote carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Akiva.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 7.01, superintendent's discussion groups. Anybody got
Let's go
anything
first. There's nothing from Winfield.
I did attend and it was, they were quick, nothing going on there. That was Cedar Lake, nothing going on.
And there's nothing in Crown Point RDC that pertains to schools at all.
Thank you. And again, just reiterate, thank you guys for taking care of those and keeping us abreast of what's going on in each of those areas. So move on to item 7.02, Director of Elementary Education, Dr. Kachina.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. During last week's e-learning day, our elementary teachers from each building at each grade level came together for some collaboration and professional learning. We began our time together by celebrating our successes from last year, recognizing the growth that our students achieved. From there, we spent a lot of time discussing how we're going to strengthen teaching and learning in the area of writing. Teachers collaborated about the Indiana academic standards and different rubrics used to score student writing. They practiced scoring some actual student writing samples and planned for ways to embed some consistent writing strategies and scaffolds that will start in kindergarten and progress up through the elementary grades. Really made the most of our time together and had a great day. On another note, coming up here soon, in a few weeks, students in grades 3 through 8 will be beginning the first of 3 iLearn checkpoints. For students in grades 3 through 5, we won't get started on those until October gets here. But if you remember, last year we piloted the new iLearn checkpoint process. This year, it's not a pilot anymore. Everybody's in this year. While these assessments are not used for accountability purposes, they are very important. We use them for a lot of things to guide our curriculum, to guide our instruction, to help parents understand where their students are. We'll be communicating with parents more about these assessments coming up here soon. Also, there's a new family portal that the Department of Education has, so we'll be having some communication about how families will utilize that portal to see how their students are doing. And finally, just want to, I know Sergeant Benson and Sergeant Gligich are not here anymore, but speaking as a former elementary principal and a dad of a student who's been through DARE, those two gentlemen had a profound impact on, like Mr. Warney said, thousands of students' lives, and just the energy and kind of dynamic presence that they both had in our schools for a long time was just so appreciated. And I know that Officer Hassey is off to a great start, and that program is running strong. It's a great partnership we have with the city. Thank you.
Dr. Chikine, just one question.
Yeah.
You mentioned obviously the e-learning day. Can you, from your perspective of being our director of elementary education, the importance of that day as far as for the professional growth and development of our teachers and the connection there?
Sure, absolutely, Mr. Angel. So we did reduce the number of those professional learning, e-learning days this year. It's always a tough balance between when you're making decisions like that, but the value is huge for our elementary teachers. It's so important that we're able to bring them together. It's one thing to do that collaboration virtually in some of our morning times. It's just different when you get professionals in the room together to actually talk and be able to think through things and problem solve things. So it's a huge impact.
It's been brought to my attention because, you hear from parents of what really happens and why is that, but I just want to make sure. So perfect. And thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
Nick, if I can also ask you an additional question, since this is it's no longer a pilot with the is it a three-step?
Yeah, so there's 3 I-Learn checkpoints, and then the summative assessment is in April and May. The summative assessment this year has been shortened quite a bit, so it'll be the first year of this kind of new summative assessment.
And I know in the past, the state, they always ask everybody's opinion, of course, before they do anything, tongue in cheek. And, does it jive in or is that yet to be determined with curriculum mapping that we do and course building that we do with what is being tested along the way?
Great.
It's been a problem in the past.
Yeah.
You probably don't know yet because we're starting, but.
That's a great question. So they did ask 2 years ago for a lot of information about when at different grade levels, different districts are teaching certain standards, Mr. Vassar. So
Good.
they did try to put certain skills and standards on checkpoint 1 versus checkpoint 2 or 3. And some aren't on any checkpoints at all. They only show up on the summative assessment. But we found last year with our new curriculum maps at elementary school that for the most part, it does align pretty well. And we were able to teach the skills and standards prior to the checkpoint. But there is an opportunity for students to take the checkpoint again after reteaching has occurred or remediation. So that's something that's there as well.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Before we go to Mr. Ramirez, I'm gonna throw it to, Mr. Gianfermi and ask him just to speak a little bit about the e-learning days as well. So thank you, Nick. Thanks.
So, Mr. Angel, I mean, I know your question is like, what are the things that can be packaged in a day like that for what our teachers can cover? Every e-learning, we work together to make sure everybody knows we have to coordinate because, we're trying to cover so much. I mean, district PLCs at the elementary level where every single grade, covered different writing. So without being able to do that, we can't create that consistency we want to see across our grade levels. So that happened. And then in addition to that, you move into some more articulation across the building and where they're working on the things that they need. So there'll be a corporation piece and then a building level piece where they have that time to have those conversations they can't have when we're doing our regular day. The middle schools and high schools talked about AI. We talked about Magic School, a piece that we brought in. That is a pretty big lift for our teachers to start trying to use appropriately with their students. So the corporation needs some time to sit down there and do that professional development. So they covered that. Our EE department does all kind of training. They trained with the goal books, which is a new piece that they're using to create the goals for the IEPs and then be able to progress monitor those goals. These are all things that we have to have the teachers with us to be able to do these things. So to create that space, these were just, I'm not hitting everything that was covered, but these are some of the things that were covered. I know that we had preschool, they do additional training in for those instructors in Paris and create more materials during that time. For the preschool programming, we do CPI training. Every year we hire new folks who need to have that CPI training to be able to de-escalate students verbally, and then in the worst cases, scenarios, how do you appropriately hold that student so you wouldn't injure them? So that CPI training is critical. Can't do that during the day when you're actually doing your job. So these are all the kind of things that we pushed in there. School counselors have all a moment as well on that day. So there's a lot done. I know that if we could get more and squeeze more out of that, we understand. But we also understand that when students are in school, that's a bit of a burden for our teachers, our parents as well. So one of the other groups I would want to acknowledge for e-learning is we do keep child care open in 2 sites. We had over 60 students at one site and another 40 at the other site, and they're there for the entire time. And we help with homework there. So our child care workers, a shout out to them. That's a long day and they do a great job keeping it going for those kids and the parents that need that service through those e-learning days. So very valuable to the corporation, and those days are really, really valued by our staffs for sure.
Mr. Gianfermi, thank you for that explanation as I've been approached a couple times and the non-truths out there about that, it's an inconvenience to parents and all that, but it's part of the overall corporation, part of our overall calendar, which allows this and our staffs, like you said, for the importance of getting together for that training.
I think it's also important it was mentioned that we reduced the number that we had in the past couple of years this year. And when, Mr. Gianfermi and his, group brought this to me, and said they wanted to reduce it, I said, are you sure? Because I knew all of the things that we have to do and the value of these days. So I appreciate your leadership and your department working on making sure that we could refine this and get as much as we can out of those days to put us in a position to keep moving forward, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. And I think it's fair to say that there's nobody sitting up here who believes an e-learning day is better than an in-person day for student learning. But this is an essential part of what we do, and you just heard why. So just thought I'd reiterate that. Backing up a little bit, or going back to 7.03, Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I wanted to take the opportunity to highlight an event that occurred on September 4th at Crown Point High School, and to thank Lynn Alkire, the administrative team at the high school, as well as the counseling team at the high school. They held their fall college and career fair, during which they had the opportunity for our students and families to meet with over 50 post-secondary institutions that were very well represented, diverse as well. There were military representatives there, as well as specializations for work opportunities, from everything from School of Beauty to Plumbers Union. So it was really a great opportunity for our high school students. And then on the same day, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, our middle school teams, and Mr. Akiwa for their work. The Chamber of Commerce hosted a Your Future, Your Choice Careers with Skills and Degrees locally here in Crown Point. And again, students in grade 7 and 8, we had the opportunity to have them go, and they were able to meet with and learn more about professions from plumbing to electricians, construction, banking, military. So it was another great exploration for our students to be able to start even at the middle school level to think about what they may want to pursue, and to then take advantage of course opportunities that we have. So I wanted to thank those two groups. We have a lot of things happening like we always do. This week is College Go Week, and that's a really exciting thing throughout the corporation that elementary through high school celebrates through Spirit Days, through again working to make sure that students understand what they can do after high school. We have homecoming coming up before our next board meeting, so that is on October 3rd with the dance on the 4th. We have PSAT being administered at 8th grade and in 9th through 11th grade on October 9th. If your evenings are free on the following dates, feel free to jot these down. We have fall concerts. We have orchestra on the 29th, choir on the 1st, and band on the 6th. Those are starting at 6 p.m. And then for sure, and I will bring this up again if I remember, in October, we have the Wizard of Oz that will be performed at Crown Point High School, and that will be running November 14th through the 23rd. So I'm sure you will want to check that out. And then to just kind of chime in on the e-learning impact that this has at the secondary level, this was really important for us to maximize the alignment and collaboration for us between our two middle schools with new ELA and math curriculum. It was really important that we work to discuss everything from actual implementation to problem solving to grading guidance. So it was really a very impactful day for them. We did focus on generative artificial intelligence. And then at the high school, they were able to cover a series of professional learning that it also included generative AI, verbal de-escalation, 504s, ILPs, IEPs, as well as some safety trainings from the nurse. So it really is a day that we try to cover as many things as we can as thoroughly as possible so that we educate our teachers so they can be as most effective as possible.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
I do, unrelated, that was a great presentation, unrelated to any of that. I read an article in the local paper last Thursday about AI. You briefly mentioned AI. This was from colleges that are having considerable trouble with that for students that are cheating using AI. And I know it's relatively new to our schools. We just really talked about it last year. Have you, and it's probably not, I don't know if it's a fair question for you, but has there been an uptick at all in students using that to, I don't want to say cheat, but I'll use it.
Sure. Well, a component that we really are stressing with generative AI is the importance of being a critical thinker and critical user of generative AI. As we know that there is bias with generative AI, and we need to make sure that we are kind of creating AI resistant prompts is what they will oftentimes call it. So like if I'm expecting students to be able to produce an essay, instead of maybe having them do that independently, what parts can I see them doing in front of me, or how might I have them use AI for certain parts, like maybe a general concept, but then they are doing research using approved databases. So it's really about educating the educator so that they set the parameters and the expectations for how generative AI can and can't be used by students. Magic School, which is the generative AI tool that we're looking to leverage this year, also allows the teacher to be a little bit more in control because they are able to put specific tools into a room that then students are invited to come into and to use it for a very specific purpose. So while I'm not going to say generative AI doesn't potentially cause us some challenges with cheating or plagiarism, that has kind of existed for quite a while, I would say, since the invention of the internet. So they call generative AI the next.
That's way before that.
Well, perhaps. I mean, there's always copying. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't say that I didn't, stand on top of a lock, like by a locker bay and take some notes from a friend every once in a while. So I mean, when we have this technology, this is what happens. We have to teach our students to be responsible digital citizens, help our teachers understand what is being done through generative AI and the large language models. And we keep stressing really human in the loop is the key, that the educator is at the forefront of making the decisions. Why would generative AI be useful? What need is it meeting? And then we need to educate our students as well.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. Mr. Vassar, I just to touch on that, I also know that there are tools where teachers, professors can use to catch people who are using ChatGPT all the time. So, absolutely. So, I know that those tools have been used in our schools as well. So,
Go Guardian. Does that, sorry, you don't have to come back up. But
I can probably answer you.
is that in sync then with Go Guardian? Or is that a separate where the,
So we have quite a few different things watching what's going on, but the Magic School itself is this, the teacher assigns the student a room to actually be using the tools, and we'll set the time that they're in there, and it'll flag all kinds of different things for us to keep the safety, all kind of different safety pieces on it though. But that's the nice part about it as we kind of wade into this and come alongside AI, so.
thank you, Mr. D.
thank you.
We're going to go back to you, 7.04, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. D. Fermi.
Yeah, just a couple things. On September 4th, Mrs. Allen kind of arranged a meeting with the Philanthropic Educational Organization. She brought myself, Dinah Smith, our Director of Grants and Assessment, and Sarah Colvin, our STEM specialist, and we addressed the group of about 30, 35 of these members and talked all things Crown Point schools, and we talked about AI and STEM with a little bit of a flair on women in education. And the feedback from Sally Nilber, the executive officer, was that we were probably one of the best prepared groups, and they really enjoyed our presentation. But it's always a pleasure to go out and talk to community groups about our school and see what's, tell them what's happening. So it was a kind of a nice event that we had back there on September 4th, and I thank all those folks that went out there with me to talk to this group. And then the last thing I have is, we will not see you before October 20th, but October is School Safety Month, and we will be having our parent safety presentation for parents of the community to come out here at the administration building at 6 o'clock, and we will have the whole crew out here, and we'll talk all things school safety. We did this last year. We did it at the middle schools, but we feel like we can have one group here and get it done with one night. But any parents that are interested in how we're trying to keep our schools safe, we would present that on the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. Gianfermi. Item 7.05, Chief Human Resource Officer, Mr. Kiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. Echoing the comments of Mr. Chiquina, I also just want to personally thank Dave Benson and Officer Gligich for all their time and effort, as I got to experience some of that when I was at Timothy Ball, and it was just absolutely fantastic. So thank you to them. Also, Sabrina, thank you for mentioning that chamber event for the middle schools. That's a first of its kind, and they hope to grow that. So I was actually there, and it was quite the scene, and I think it's going to be a continuing effort by the chamber to expose our students to career paths. So great job there. I want to just thank the Big Four for making an effort last week in getting their employees connected. Big Four meaning transportation, tech, food service, and buildings and grounds. We've moved the platform to do your annual tutorials to a new system, which requires logging on to a new system. And logging on to new systems is quite the challenge for our employees. But we currently have enrolled 1,390 individuals in the system. And last week we spent some time really helping our folks, making sure their email was accessible to get the invitations, to get the login instructions, and tech pitched in. Mr. Molaski had his folks at all the different sites getting set up. Christine had her folks getting set up in food service, and Marty brought transportation folks over here for 3 sessions at central office. So I want to thank everybody who put in time and effort that day, including my HR staff, helping folks get connected and get logged on to Frontline to get these tutorials knocked out this year. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. Moving on to item 7.06, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Reese.
Yeah, I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Item 7.7, Director of Communications, Mrs. Allen.
Thank you and good evening. Earlier this year, we implemented a little bit of a new procedure in the communications department where we send a form to every school every week. It's a digital form, and we ask the teachers and staff to tell us what's up, what's happening in your building, what's going on, whether it's something you've just completed or it's something that's coming up in the week ahead. And in about 20 days of school since we've implemented these forms, we've had more than 230 responses come back to us. Things that are just good news, great lessons in the classroom, opportunities to go out and take pictures, to film video for super things. So I just want to thank our teachers and staff in the buildings who have sort of embraced this new way of sharing information. It's become incredibly effective for my team behind the scenes. Speaking of AI, we're using an AI program to help sort and categorize all of these different opportunities, to track how frequently we're headed to different buildings and for what reasons, different grade levels, so that we can also kind of share the love. And when we don't hear from someone, we can follow up with them and say, hey, I haven't heard from your grade in a while. What's going on out there? So just a big thank you to our buildings for helping implement this and for responding every week.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. 7.08, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Terrell.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Ms. Allen mentioned super things. We were at MacArthur that should be coming out today or tomorrow. It was released today. Had a great time filming at MacArthur with their students. It's refreshing. It's helps keep your mind on why we're doing what we're doing, why we do what we do, and you get out in those buildings and talk with kids, and it was just very helpful. Interesting, was mentioned one of our math curriculums is new at the middle schools, and the other day I was walking through Taft, and there was a student who happened to be at his locker, and he stopped me. He said, "Aren't you the superintendent?" I said, "I am." And he told me his name, and he said, "Well, I just want to let you know that I love our new math curriculum." Who says that, right? What middle school? I know when I was a middle school kid, that probably wouldn't have been the thing that I would have stopped the superintendent to say, but I appreciate that, and I appreciate the efforts that went into selecting our math curriculum, but also the work that continues to happen on a regular basis in our classrooms as well. Tonight, I'd like to bring up Crossroads Chamber hosted a meeting with Secretary Jenner from the DOE a couple of weeks ago. I'm a board member there, and we were invited to be a part of that meeting. So myself, Mr. Gianfermi, and Nick Kachina were able to be up there. And Dr. Jenner started off, and she has a very polished program that she goes through with her slide presentation. And on the first slide, it listed probably 6 different things that are happening around the state. And I had no idea what she was going to have on that slide. But in every one of those areas, we outperformed the things that she was touting that are happening in the state of Indiana. And it just reminded me of how, as a school corporation, we continue to push that envelope and do those great things. Afterwards, she had to leave rather quickly, and they threw the mic to me, and I was able to get up and talk through the things that are happening here in Crown Point and bring that to all of our community members. Interesting group. They were there about graduation pathways, the changes, excuse me, to the diploma. We were able to talk through that 350 of our seniors go out and do internships on a daily basis. We were able to talk through more than 10,000 dual credits. We were able to talk through the amount of AP tests that are going on. So literacy rates, what our I read 3 passages rating is, and for our second grade as well, where we outperform and come pretty close to what's happening across the state. So it's just a great reminder of how fortunate we are here, and so much of that is about the students that we have, but also about our teachers and our administrators, our staff, and how they continue to work for our kids to do what's best for them.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Terrell. Moving on to item 8.01, other business of the board. Anybody got anything tonight?
I could share, I wish I could say, coming back from the ISBA conference, I had a lot of knowledge or ideas to share with everybody, but at the same time, I kind of feel like it's piggyback what Dr. Terrell said. It's kind of rewarding and positive that there's a lot of good information being shared there. A lot of it over the years we've picked up and attempted and tried and probably do a little bit better, but continue to get better at it. So it's kind of neat. Used to go there and the agenda would have, the work sessions would have 3 or 4 things to pick from, and you're, oh, which one we can do? These are all very interesting, and it's, in a good way, to the point now there were only a couple opportunities to really gain interest of something we could be better at, and I'll try to share some more later, but I do think Noblesville did a presentation with their superintendent and board. Ironically, part of it was about strategic planning, which we know we're going to try to dig into a little bit, and then just how we could be better as a board. They did a really nice job presenting how they grew as a board, and I did pick up some ideas there that we could certainly be better as a board. I'll share with you guys when we get the opportunity.
That's good to hear, David. Thank you for sharing that. I think, that goes along the lines with professional development as a board as well. And so I think that would be worthwhile. We always need to try to improve, and we preach that and teach that to be the best and strive to be the best, but then we have that same obligation ourselves as board members. So I'd be very anxious to hear what you picked up down there, but thank you for sharing that. Anybody else got anything? No? All right. I don't have anything myself. I think, just speaking on long-term planning and planning, we discussed this earlier. We'll try to get an executive session scheduled and come back in. Okay. 9.01, board statements of appreciation and recognition. Back to you, Mr. Warner.
I'd just like to thank or show appreciation to Coach Chris Gloff and the media team and how they take what they do they're taking a very professional approach to everything they do in the media department. And if nothing else, I think that there's some true character development taking place, and whether some of the students that are involved in his program are going to continue to be in journalism, communication, media or not, they're developing some true life skills. And from the outside, we only know what we can see, but I think Coach Gloff is doing an excellent job of mentoring them.
Thank you, David. Mr. Angel.
So I'm just going to piggyback on that. Me and Mr. Warning were invited to be the first guest on their game day practice run set 3 weeks ago at the first home game. This Friday, they're actually going to be on Marquee Network as for the live show after doing some practice runs. Dr. Terrell looks like he has some additional information on that. But me and Mr. Warning were just so impressed with the notes, and both the boys that interviewed us asked questions, were well prepared. Had a couple technical glitches like you're going to expect at a thing, getting audio tied in, the camera, made sure everything was going. I went back and watched it. They had an interview with Coach Buzz, and Mr. Gloff and Mr. Barber deserve all the kudos in the world, because I found out Mr. Gloff actually built the rolling set for like game day, like on ESPN for the track. The students came early. They asked for them to come early, so there'd be that atmosphere behind it, and it was really well done. Unfortunately, be out of town this weekend, but I can't wait to see the end result for this Friday after that practice run, because then, me being Mr. Sports Guy, that evening then I was watching the second half of that game at home, and the camera work wasn't quite at that level yet. So of course, professionally, I texted Mr. Gloff and said, he goes, nope, we're doing about 3-4 more games prior to the big thing this Friday to make sure they have enough practice, meaning they were doing JV games, freshman games and all that. So that just goes to show you the dedication about making sure it's perfect, because I can tell you, Mr. Gloff is a perfectionist, so when things aren't going, he will make sure it gets fixed for that next time around. So kudos and best of luck to all those individuals involved in that Friday night.
The character development piece, I would tell you, if you guys go back and watch that video, I sent it to Brian, there's some sound issues at the beginning of it, and to see how they had to scramble and try to figure out, I mean, it was real life stuff, right, to get this up and going. But it's a great learning experience for them, and it wasn't, oh man, let's just, nope, they kept figuring it out, and they're doing the troubleshooting with it, and kids behind the scenes were running all over, making everything else happen, so it's a great opportunity for our kids.
What an opportunity, 16, 17, 18 years old to have that, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. So, Mr. Vassar.
Yes, I'd like to recognize and thank our school crossing guards. I live very close to the crossings that go to Timothy Ball, and both of these ladies are nice to talk with. Whenever I go by, they're very attentive to what they do, and they never get recognized until something bad happens. So I just want to tell them and the other crossing guards throughout our town and Winfield as well, that thank you for what they do, because it really is important, and I don't want to overlook those little things. So thanks to them.
Thank you, Mr. Vassar. Ms. Basin?
I just wanted to reiterate what many have said about Sergeants Benson and Gligich. They have really been around since I was teaching at Eisenhower. Officer Benson at that point was the DARE officer there, and phenomenal just to have them in the building. I know multiple people have said the energy that they bring, but their message, I think, has gone so much deeper because of who they are as individuals. My 3 oldest kids have had Officer G, they've called him, so Sergeant Gligich, and his energy and ability to connect with the kids, and I think that in that way, when you become relatable and become somebody who they know, like, and trust, that information is transmitted and lasts, I think, a lot longer. So their ability to connect, I think, is on the same level as our amazing teachers. And so it kind of just continues. They become a teacher of the DARE program to those kids. And I think that's been really phenomenal. So thank you for your years of service to our 2 sergeants.
Thank you, Ms. Basin. Tonight, I just have two things. I noticed Ms. Ramirez said that the Wizard of Oz is coming. So I'm going to say it again. The Wizard of Oz is coming to Crown Point High School. And the reason I say that is because I know those tickets will sell quick. So if you want to get tickets, I recommend buying them early and often from experience. The second one, which will be a great show, they always put on a great show. The second one is I had the opportunity to go to the Ambassador program, which, speaking of, Mr. Warner, you shared that we picked that up from the Indiana State Bar Association several years ago as one of the ideas. And it was the first time I had the opportunity to go to the opening day of that. And I just want to commend our administrators, our team, and the individuals that are participating, because it's really well done. And I heard feedback already from one of the individuals at the Ambassadors program about how much information and how interesting it is, which was numbers. I think Matt was the one presenting. So I said it only gets better from here. But it's just it's a great thing that our general public has the opportunity to get informed of some of the details that we know about and hear about often as board members. So just want to say thank you again, and kudos, Todd, Dr. Terrell, and the administration for the work that you do. Brooke, you as well. I know you're instrumental in it and all the work and behind the scenes work, so you did a great job. So that's it for me tonight. Anybody else have anything? All right, if I may have a motion to adjourn? So moved. So moved by Mr. Angel.
Second.
Second by Ms. Basin. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The vote carries 5-0.